No, I think you should stop distributing these things so that people's attention could.
Please, we are recording. I want to plead with the Secretariat to stop distribution. Let's finish our presentation. The Secretariat will make sure that everybody will get a copy of what is available, or at least the Dachideng Arewa that were being asked why we allow things to be like this. We will get copies, inshallah.
Well, actually, the topic I'm supposed to deal with is so obvious, is so straightforward. Political direction for the North. And I think what must have led us to even raise this issue at this point must have been the circumstances we have been through in the last 2 decades, but especially in the last 15 years. My younger brother has just lamented and, of course, given details of some of the events that have taken place, especially in the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years, especially after the 2011 general elections. And the North became aware, if it wasn't aware, that it was under serious, organized, orchestrated attack. And of course, we had always had some semblances of groups that had been the watchdog, or should have been the watchdog, of northern concerns, whether they are historical, whether they are cultural, whether they are economic and political. But I think what was very clear after 2011 election, in fact, right from 1999, we must have discovered, perhaps to our chagrin, that there are some people who, or some sections of this country, who believe that the North must be decimated politically. And they didn't hide a lot of these open declarations, some documented, some recorded, and so on. I remember, after the 2011 elections, I still keep records of the text messages that I personally received, giving some of the personal roles I played in the course of the controversy that was involved, particularly the question of third term and the ascendancy, unfair and unjustifiable ascendancy of Jonathan as president of Nigeria, particularly under the agreement which I was part of, being a signatory of how PDP was formed. 10 of us, I was one of them, signed life into PDP in the office of INEC. Solomon La, may his soul rest in peace, Abubakar Rimi, and a host of others. 10 of us were invited to INEC office to sign life into PDP. But then, all this was in good faith, rotation of leadership and so on. We agreed, the North conceded. And I think this is one of our, in hindsight now, stupid mistakes, for which we are paying very dearly now. So after 2011, everything was staring at each northerner in the face Then there emerged a number of socio-cultural political groups that emerged in various parts of the North, as alluded by Dr. Bugaje. And I think I can list quite quickly those that were quite visible. Arewa Consultative Forum is the oldest, followed by Middle Belt Forum, followed by Northern Union, of which I was a deputy leader myself under Dr. Saraki. Then the Northern Elders Forum, then the Code Group, the Borno Elders Forum, the Northeast Development Association, Arewa Research and Development Forum project, where the platform from which Dr. Bugaje has just spoken. Jamaatul Nasr Islam, now to the spiritual angle. The Northern Christian Association, I understand one of their seniors has arrived in this year. The Northern Youth Assembly, Concerned Northern Academics and Professionals, League of Northern Editors, Arewa Development Forum, Arewa Student Forum. This is just to mention about 15 of them, all within the last 2 years. This is a reflection of people in private or group discussions feeling threatened, feeling concerned, and feeling that they should do something. Something must be done about this unsatisfactory situation. This is what gave birth to all these various formations. Well, initially, most people should congratulate these various groups for seeing it the way they saw it. But the bottom line, if you look at each and every one of them, is concern for the North. What should have been an urgent matter as these groups emerge was somebody to spearhead in a very responsible manner the need for these groups to see themselves working together so that there is one platform from which all of us could speak. Attempts were made, partially successful. And Waziri Nduze is here, who had been an advocate of this bridge building across these various political groups. In fact, most of the other groups, apart from the older ones I mentioned, made up of young people, our children or very advanced younger brothers, but mostly our children. So they needed somewhere that they could really hinge this enormous youthful energy. You could see it now. You could see the people who really are driving this conference are young people. And most of them, in fact all of them, come from one or two of these groups I have just mentioned. It took us a lot of effort for us, because they came to us and said, we see you older men or elders not speaking to yourselves. And until you begin to speak yourselves, we cannot trust you. We can't even come and associate with you. And this is how we took the extra mileage to make sure that the older elders really began to reflect this unity so that the younger, energetic people can really come forward and join forces with us. And this is how we succeeded up to a point to have 6 groups join together to form what we call JAC at that point, Joint Action Committee. so that we can begin to work. Fortunately, some of the officers of JAC are here, but eventually it gave way. It had to give way under a pressure from, with due respect, some irresponsible leadership coming from unexpected quarters. That nobody else should hold ideas, bright as they may be, until somebody else permits him to speak. This is the sort of attitude that does not promote social development. Anyway, one is glad that with resilience and persistence and persuasion and reasoning, we are working in that direction. There are a few sponsored obstacles here and there, and I'm sure where these obstacles are known, and those in a position to do something about it, I'm sure are resolute in doing that. So I think very soon we are going to see a lot more working together by the various disparate groups or that appear disparate groups. But as you listen to Dr. Bugaji, who is representing the Arewa Research and Development Project. In fact, you need to go there. I was invited there to see the amount of work, the amount of documentation, particularly on the socio-economic aspects of our development in the North. You'll be surprised. So people who are worried about blueprint for state governors, for local governments and so on, they shouldn't worry, there is plenty. Plenty already exists. But how do you use it? That is the biggest question that is challenging those of us in position of leadership in this kind of forum. You must create channels or avenues where these ideas could translate. Dr. Bugaji is absolutely right. This is the age of knowledge and its application. Nigeria is very poor country. Take it or leave it, we are among the 20 poorest countries in the world today. This is despite your bloody oil. We are among the 20 poorest countries in the world by the ranking not of GDP, by the ranking of what we call human development indices. Nigeria is one of these. Even in sub-Saharan Africa, there are countries that are ahead of us, despite the so-called oil source. So knowledge, we didn't know even where the oil was until somebody came to say this is where it is. When they begin to pump it out, we didn't know how it was being pumped out. We didn't know how the pipes were working. We didn't know how much of it is going out 100 kilometers in the open ocean for tankers to be loaded with illegal oil sales and so on. I'll leave now.
Please.
So you see, the chairman has stopped me. But I think, yes, I should stop, because time is against us.
Thank you very, very much.
No, before you thank me, what I'm saying in these last two sentences is that to ask ourselves, we need a political direction, is really begging the question. This is our most crucial requirement. And I don't see why this is impossible